I've done this one quite a few times with my classes. Again, very, very simple picture. The skills involved are somewhere between the snowman one and the Father Christmas pictures I've done in terms of using the pastels. I tend to do it with pastels. It can also be done just as well with wax crayons or pencil crayons. A little bit harder with felt tips because this is all about a couple of basic shapes, a couple of ovals really, and then after that just getting the lighting. So that's about blending your colours, which is why chalks work really well, or pastels work really well. So there's one I did earlier. It takes about 15-ish minutes, maybe if in a class, maybe half an hour, something like that. So it's quite a quick one to do, especially if you're using pastels. So how do we do it? Working on black paper, get a piece of chalk. You can use coloured paper, it doesn't really matter, but I think it just really pops out when you're working on the black. So we're going to put our head in. One thing to remember is you've got a hat as well on the top, so don't bring the head too high up. You've got to allow a little bit of space. And it's just a nice easy oval, and can you see that I'm pressing down very, very lightly with the chalk. Everything's going to be rubbed out, blended in later. If you press down too hard, it's harder to rub it out and blend it away. Then I'm going to put in a second oval, and I've got to get an overlap. I don't want this oval sat on top of the next one. So very, very lightly over there, because that will be blended away. And I'm going to come down, and it's sort of egg shaped, I suppose. That will do us. So I've got that. Then next little bit, I'm going to put my feet in. So when I put my feet, I have them so they're pointing out, not straight up, but out at an angle, maybe 45 degrees, something like that, and leave a gap between them. The trickiest bit here is getting the 2 feet the same sort of size. If it goes a little bit wrong, it really, really does not matter. We can just tweak it as we go. Let's have a look at that. Maybe a little bit bigger. And again, don't worry about the angles being the same, because when you sit down, your feet will be at a slightly different angle. They're roughly the same, that's fine. Then I'm going to put my arms in. So from the joint where the head and the neck meet, I'm going to come down, and it's just bringing it down. Slight curve. We always use curves if we want to try and keep that nice 3D effect for any rounded object. Just a little flick coming up. And then I'll just put the cuffs on like so, and again keeping those curves, and then a semicircle really, the hand, and then I'm going to put my belt line in. I don't need to mark too much just yet, and then here I'm just marking off where I'm going to see just a bit of the leg. You won't see much, but you'll just see a bit, and that's all that I need. Back onto the head, I tend to do it where the head's tilted slightly. So if we look at this one, you can see that I'm not facing forwards, or the face isn't forwards, it's slightly round, and that's because this ear is further round, and this one you can see nearly the full ear. So all I do for that is I'll mark off the ear on this side, and that one you see the front of the ear. On this one, it's just coming out from the side, so you can't quite see it. And again, like I'm always saying this, you've got to keep those curves in. So there's the curve for the hat, and then pointy bit, and I'm going to put a little wrinkly bit on this because I like it when there's a bit more shape to the hat, like so. I'm not going to draw any of the facial details, any of that yet. If I do any drawing on here now, when I put the colour on, it'll just get blended away, so there's no need. And I'm just going to mark off again with curves, not straight lines, where my collar will be. Then putting in the belt, putting in the buckle. You can put buttons on as well if you want, up to you. Right, that's that bit done. This bit links into what we did with the Santa faces when we're using the pastels. So I always start with, well, my pastels are getting a bit of a mess here. Start with an orange. Again, the same is true if you're using wax crayons, pencil crayons. But when you're using pastels, remember, you're not colouring in. All you're doing is you're taking this compressed dust and you're roughly putting it on the paper, and in a few minutes your finger is going to put it where it needs to be. So there's no, you're not trying to fill all the gaps. Your finger will be blending it in. You want a nice bit of coverage, and if there's any extra dust, you just blow it away. Then I go from orange, then to a little bit of yellow, because the yellow keeps it nice and warm. Oh, made a mistake there. This always happens. Make sure you're doing all of the flesh at the same time. I suppose I could have done mittens, really. That might look quite nice. Often when I'm doing faces with children, they'll be so focused on the main part of the face they may forget to do the ears, the necks, whatever. So when you're mixing your skin tones, make sure you know all the bits that are going to be flesh, and you do all of them at the same time, so it's nice and uniform. Because I'm working on black paper, I'm going to go over it with a little bit of chalk as well. If you're working on white paper, you don't need to really worry about this bit. That's giving me my basic flesh tone. And then just a hint, and it is really a hint, you don't need much red at all. You don't want to use any lines with the chalk, so you're keeping it onto the flat all the time. There's plenty there. Right, I'm going to call that bit done. That's the first step. Second step, I'm now going to start blending it all in. Don't overblend it. If you start to see that black coming through too much, you've done enough blending. If it looks a bit smudgy, it does not matter, because we'll tidy up all of our lines towards the end. Right, that's the basic bit. Now, if I've got my light coming in, so from this picture you can see my light's coming in from that side. On this one, just to be different, I'll have my light coming in from this side. So, this side of the face is going to be paler. That ear will be paler. Top of the head will be paler. I'm now going to mark off some of the features on my face as well. So I'm going to have my nose. So I'm going to just draw in the top of the nose, really, the top of the cheek, and the top of the cheek. I'm going to go back, because now I can see where my cheeks are and my nose is. I'm going to make it a little bit redder, just a bit, does not need much, because everything I do is going to be blended away, so you don't see much of what's left. There we go. And now hopefully you'll be able to see some of those shapes appearing in my face. Less is more. Build it up if you need to. It's easier to add bits on than it is to take bits away. I'm going to leave my face there for now, and I'm going to start adding in some other bits. I'm going to go with blue just because it's there. I'm going to do a blue hat. Just like I've said before, I'm not colouring in like I would with felt tips or anything else. I'm just putting the dust in place, and then I will go back and fill it in. You've got a choice really with this. Sometimes I do like it when I don't blend at all and I just leave a rough pastel line. It looks rather effective. Sometimes I like to blend it. So on this one, you can see it's actually quite well blended. I'm going to do it well blended today just because I can, but if you want to leave it the other way because you like the way it looks, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So if I'm going to do blue, I'm going to do blue hat. Blue trim on the jacket. And blue trousers. I'm going to leave just a little gap underneath the belt where the jacket just comes underneath it. So it's not belt and then trousers, there's a little bit more of the jacket underneath. And all of that will be blended in later. And blue and, what do I want? Blue and green? Let's have a look. Go with blue and green. I'll try the blue and green. Actually, no. I'm going to go for a blue and pink because that might look quite nice. So not over colouring, just getting that dust really in place. And the dust in place over here as well. There's that bottom of the jacket I mentioned. And the shoes will be a different colour. I will do those, I think I'll do them brown maybe? Yeah, I'll do them a brown colour. And so far all of this is looking rather flat. What I need to do is I need to now start making it pop out a little bit. So much like we did with that snowman picture, you've got to think about how the light's going to hit it and how we're going to make it lift up a little bit. If I've got light coming in from this side, if you want a colder light, you can work with a white adding into it. On this one, I did a warmer light with the yellow. So I added yellow blends plus white as well, just to make it pop out. On this one, I'm going to go with a colder light. I'm going to use a white light. So if the light's coming in from the top, it's going to be catching here. It's going to be catching that sort of crease down here, this side. Now here, because there's an underhang, I don't want to put too much white in there. It's going to be whiter there. I've already done the face with the white, but if I need to do more, I can always add more. Whiter there. Whiter. Whiter here. And one little thing I like to do is give him a little podgy belly. And all you need to do for that, think where the light's going to catch the top of the belly. That's all it takes. And we'll just blend that in a little bit of light on that side. That will do there. And then for the feet, it will be lighter here. So that's where my light's coming from. And lighter here. And just a little bit lighter on the trousers there. Nothing's blended yet. It's all been put in roughly. When I want to do the darker bits, it depends what you've got. If you've got a nice range of colours, you can use a lighter blue and a darker blue. If you don't, you can just go to a black and use the black to put the darker bits in, so not too much. There we go. So this isn't the outlying bit, this is just the darker bits that I'm now going to be blending in a little bit. So again, cleanish fingers, just give them a little rub. Don't use the black on your flesh tones if you want to make those lighter and darker. Because it always looks smudgy. I'm going to use some brown on there just to make it pop out a little bit more. And can you see that when I'm smudging in the direction with the lines, not against them. If I was to go like that, all these creases I've just put in would then disappear, and I'm trying to keep them there, so I've got to follow the shapes I'm working with. And if you go from one colour to the next, make sure your fingers are clean enough so that I don't get the pinks going where I don't want them to go. And if you need to go over bits again, just go over bits again. It normally takes 3 or 4 layers with pastels for me to get the levels I'm happy with. You see how it's catching the light a little bit? Not too much, just a bit. Yeah, I've got some blends in now. Now I can just tidy things up a little bit. Going back to the black. In fact, no, I'm going to go to the brown first. Darker side of the face. Don't want to do too much, just a hint. Because that's where things will be that little bit darker. Can you see how it's just making it look a little bit more 3D? Make sure I've got no blues or anything on my fingers because that might spoil my face. And just mix it all in. If it goes over a little bit, it doesn't matter. When we do our lines at the end with the black, they'll just tidy up all the bits we're not so keen on. Don't over smudge. If you can start to see that black coming through, you're rubbing away too much of that dust, so just be careful as you go. Right, now back on the black. So let's see, what have I got? Put that in there. That will go there. There's that ear, so I can see the full shape of that ear. This ear, I don't see as much. Don't do full outlines, leave little gaps like I've just left there. It's only a small gap. It just looks better. Don't know why. Just looking at the artists that I like to copy off, that's the way they do it. If they do it, I'll do it. And for the eyes, I'm going to do nice simple ovals. Have a look at all the different eye shapes you can play with. You've got lots and lots of options. You might do it where you do the full white of the eye. You might do it like I do, where I'm just doing the black and putting in that little white bit. I'll do the white bit now. If you are doing eyes, that little fleck of white really does make a big difference. Getting a little fleck of light on the nose and the cheeks as well. Simple mouth. That's all I need. Let's get that collar in. Keeping those curves are important. So this one, as I say, I think this has got a few more levels. It's a little bit trickier than the Santa face or the snowman, but it's very easy shapes. There's nothing hard. You've just got a little bit more to do. It's just a bit more work. There, can you see that was a smudgy bit? So I've just gone over that. There we go, tidies it all up. A little bit of a shape for the ear. I don't want too much in there. What do I want to do now? A little bit of hair, and then I'll just work on the belt. So I'm not going to do too much, just a little fleck here. Again, I'm using black just because that's what I've got in my hand. Don't forget your brows. If you don't put the eyebrows in, the face never looks quite as nice. Tidying up on the top. I think that's it really, just the belt now. So tidy that up. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. Doesn't need much at all. Just makes it pop out a little bit. And then, because I want it to look a little bit shiny, light coming from this side, so I'm just going to try and catch a little bit of white there with the white, and a little bit, and here's just a little bit of brown on the far side. I think can't see anything else that needs doing. Yeah, I'm going to call that done. How long does that take? 19 minutes, and that's with me explaining it. So how to draw, quick and easy Christmas elf.